To this computer. Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Randy Peyser at Author One Stop, and I have a very special guest today, Nickolas Potter. I've known Nick for over 20 years as the film authority who I turn to for anything related to film. And so, Nick, can you just give just a very brief description of your background, and then we'll just launch right into today's topic.
Sure. Let's see. I'll give my let's see, a brief history. Okay. Uh, Going way back, English major in college, double major, communications and English lit. Didn't want to be a high school English teacher, so it was either law school or this. And I applied to 16 law schools and to the master's program in screenwriting at USC, and ended up getting into USC. So that's it for that. Um, Found my bliss and my calling with storytelling, particularly for the screen, though I do love also to write books. Uh, I'm not a poet. I wish I was. It was part of the program, but it just isn't me. Let's see here. Something's popped up on my screen. Um, I was in Los Angeles doing the starving artist thing just after when I got off my master's degree. At one point, I had to take a job, and this is pre-Barney. So at one point, I had to take a job because I was interning at Disney at the time, which was unpaid, and waiting tables at night. And I also needed a job dressing up as a giant purple dinosaur at children's birthday parties. And I thought,
Did not
okay,
know that, Nick. I did
yeah,
not
yeah,
know that.
yeah. So I thought, okay, this is really not working for me. So when so I went back to and actually fun fact, Brad Pitt spent 2 years outside of El Pollo Loco in Santa Monica dressed as the giant chicken before he got discovered. So yeah.
So there you go.
There you go. But I was pushing 30 years old, and the only other thing that interested me was psychology. So I went back to USC, a very happy place for me, and I did another master's degree in counseling psychology, and I did 1,700 hours of field work, field practicum, um, in Inglewood, which is a rough place to do that kind of work. The funny thing is that that was my B plan, and I still love psychology. What I love about it is that it's about people, and I think that all stories are, yes, they're a story, they're a set of events, they're things that happen, but really the story that we relate to when we go see a film is how the people that we've invested in, the characters that we've invested in this movie react to the problem. So while I was studying psychology and doing my field practicum, I was still writing because it's my love and my passion. And I started getting a lot of attention all of a sudden because my I was writing differently. I was writing about people and the human experience that we see on the screen. And I finished the master's degree in the practicum hours, and I started getting a lot of work. And then I had my first feature film that I also wrote, produced when I was 33, and I was a producer on set as well, which was terrifying and thrilling at the same time. Uh, and kind of never looked back. That film won 3 awards that I'm very proud of. It was close to my heart, and it was actually a film that I was inspired to write by one of my clients as a psychology intern, um, who was 17 years old and blind, and was being molested by his drug addict mother's boyfriend. And I fell in love with this kid, and it's a very frustrating thing to know that somebody's in that kind of danger, and because of legal stuff and insurance companies and things that I don't have a lot of regard for compared to human life. Um, I had to have real firm boundaries, and I got in trouble for giving him my personal pager number. This is in the '90s, so we still had pagers back then. And and I said, no, practicing isn't for me. I can't know that a 17-year-old kid is in danger every night and not give him my number. So I will I will use this skill another way back in my first love. And I've been working ever since, which is just an incredible blessing. So What I wanted to talk about today were two common things that I'm hearing a lot about right now. The first one I've always heard a lot about: storytelling. What's the difference between telling a story for the screen and telling a story in a book? Um, and I'll get to that. And there's a big difference, a very, very big difference, and I'll explain it. The other thing that's popping up in the last couple of years a lot is, why hire a screenwriter? AI is writing scripts. Not yet. It's not. It's trying. It's trying to write scripts, but there are some major problems with the way AI is doing it. AI is not, it can't ever be you. And AI can't know the finance people and the producers that you and directors and actors that you want to reach out to. None of that can be programmed into AI at this point in time. So what, and I have a lot of people who are editors and script doctors. I do script doctoring myself sometimes. People come to me with great script concepts, and a screenplay has been written, but it's broken or it's not shootable. And so that kind of thing is going on much, much more these days, because people think, oh, for 5 grand, I can buy this program that's going to write my script for me. No, because the point of a screenplay is to get financed so that you can actually shoot the movie. And if your script is not perfect and does not look professional, it won't happen. You'll have a $5,000 stack of paper sitting on your shelf collecting dust, and I don't think that's anyone's goal. So let me pause there. I feel like I've been talking for an hour already. Any questions so far?
Um,
No? Okay, good.
no, okay.
So
I
let's
got,
see.
I got one.
Sure.
I've been reading that the studios aren't really paying very much, especially to new writers. It's almost like a waste of time to even approach them unless you're on a higher tier, which you may be on. But what I read, for a lower tier person, without, like, I made a movie, it won some awards, but I didn't become well known and make a lot of films. And I think they still look at me as if not the bottom tier, maybe an inch above it. And they're offering things like just $50,000 for a screenplay, where years ago, writers were getting paid well, and all they had to do was write. Now they want you to not only give them a screenplay, you got to give them a breakdown on the budget, a breakdown on this. They want things that the production companies used to do. It's
Yes.
almost like in acting with Echo Cast. There's no more live auditions. They put it all, the technology, on the actor's back. In fact, actors are complaining about that. So it's a very confusing thing to it's just that I love to write, and
Yeah.
stories just keep coming. I just keep writing. And you know I'd love to make my second movie. My first movie won best film, best actor, best new director, best screenplay, best composer. I set a Guinness World Record for the most awards for one motion picture, for an indie motion picture. It was at the New York International Film and Video Festival. I swept the festival. Guinness didn't tell me for 18 months that I won the world record. If they had told me like they were supposed to within like 90 days, I would probably be famous right now and would have done my second screenplay, which won first place at the Los Angeles Screenplay Competition.
Well, let me tell you, everything you're saying is correct. And that's actually one of the reasons that I like doing these webinars, is to encourage people. They make it harder and harder. The competition is fierce, which is why what I want to talk about moving on is writing for production versus just telling a story in a book. It is such a beautiful pleasure to write a book, because you don't have to worry about how you're going to shoot that scene.
I
For
just finished my first novel.
it's a pleasure, right? It's beautiful. It's a wonderful experience. Um, I Everything you're talking about is true, but there are also tricks. And as you know, I recognize you. And as you know, it's all about packaging, really. So, and when I say packaging, what I'm talking about is attracting brand name talent, brand name director, There's product placement and really anybody that honestly, and this might be your agent's problem, anybody that expects you to pay somebody $5,000 to submit your script with a finished budget is out of line.
Yeah.
No, because it's really going to be up to the person investing in the movie, how much they're going to spend on cast, set, costumes. There are so many factors. Is it a period piece? Because those are expensive. And the other thing is that technology is changing so fast. 3 years ago, I wrote a script for a man, or I was a script doctor, and then I became a co-writer because I saw that there were some problems, and he liked my ideas about how to fix them, and then I became the executive producer for him, and I'm just wrapping up that project now. Uh, we do a lot of stuff about packaging in the wearing the executive producer hat, and that is finding the lowest cost ways to exploit the most valuable and marketable parts of your script. And usually that's talent for a lead for the lead character, or a name brand director. And there's some homework to do before you start sending out your script. Again, that's an agent issue. Don't let anybody send it out prematurely, and don't let any large studio, like you said, you're a writer, you're a storyteller. It's really, if they decide to buy the rights to your movie, it's really on them to decide how big they're going to make it or how small. I love a really well shot indie film, keeping costs down, not because of keeping the costs down, but I think storytelling is at its finest when we're not relying on technology. And that's what I was going to say about that script that I finished up 3 years ago. And I've been writing and rewriting because the guy always has a new idea and that he wants to add. And there's something called a U-wall now, and there's a scene in that screenplay. Uh, I'm 58 years old, so I've been doing this for a while. I'm not a millennial by any stretch of the imagination, but there was a scene in that script that it takes place outside the Louvre by the glass pyramid there, and I needed to shoot that scene on location, and it was going to cost a lot of money. Just fly the crew over, the skeleton crew really, and then you use local crew. But the two leads and blocking off the streets around the Louvre, it was going to be hard. But I believed, I love a good movie, and it's everything. It's the light, it's the authenticity of it. I believed that scene could not be shot, could not be faked. And 2 years into the project, somebody showed me how they would shoot the scene using a U-wall, which is a 270-degree backdrop, right? It was so realistic, and especially Paris. I love Paris, and I love the light in Paris, and that's why I thought, no, we have to shoot this on location because there's no other city in the world that has that kind of light, and people will be able to tell. I couldn't tell, I could not tell. So yeah, it was amazing. So things are changing very, very, very rapidly. But having said that, the screenplay is still the blueprint for your production. And when you write a book, it's really all about the story, and your imagination is the only limit. When you write a screenplay, you're telling people how to run a movie set. And we've all seen a screenplay, but we may not know how to interpret all the different things that happen. Words in all caps. That's usually a sound effect or a prop. Because the day we're shooting that scene, if somebody's drinking from a red coffee mug, there better be a red coffee mug on set. Because nobody wants to pay a crew to sit around, right, for an hour while somebody runs to Walmart and buys a red coffee mug. So when you think about writing your screenplay, it's 50% story, but it's also you are telling your crew how to run their production. You're the architect. And this is something that I think a lot of screenwriters for hire don't teach people, but it's very, very important. It's important because it's going to save you during production, but it's also important because if you don't deliver a screenplay that's written to those standards, investors and producers and studios are going to know that you're new or you're an amateur. And I always tell the story. Randy's heard the story a lot. During those 5 years that I was interning at Disney, one of my jobs was script reader. And what that meant is that the two executives that I worked for, one of whom I liked very much, the other not so much, they didn't want to anything that I screened the scripts before they got them.
I can hear you. I got to get my coffee.
All right. So my job, they didn't want to take 10 scripts home on the weekend to read. So I would sit there all day with stacks. And back in the old days, there were still paper scripts, right? With stacks and stacks of scripts on my desk. And when I first started that position, I'd get a cover sheet and it would be pass, consider, or recommend. Those are my only options. Anything that I said consider on, they had to take home and read that weekend. So the guy that I don't have fond memories of, I mean, he tore me apart because I gave him like 8 scripts to take home one weekend as considers, and he said, you have to find, and this was eye-opening for me, you have to find a way to screen these better. And that is when he took me aside and showed me, line by line, is this shootable? Is that shootable? And I was young and I was just out of film school and I saw the possibilities and everything, and I thought, if I could see the potential in a script, of course I would give it a consider, especially as a writer myself. I didn't want to turn anybody away, but the same system still exists, especially in the studios, in the big studios. They are looking for a reason to not accept your project. So an impeccable script is your only guarantee of not getting discounted or discarded right off the bat.
Can I say a few things?
I'd love it. Yeah.
Great.
Well, I set my
I did all those jobs, by the way, for the Guinness World Record. I produced, I wrote, I directed, I starred and composed. I did about 17 jobs on a film. And when people saw it, they figured it's going to be a piece of junk, How can one guy do everything? But I worked on it for 14 years. My friends thought I was nuts. But I'm a stickler for details. And for this next film, which won the first place award for Best Feature Film at the Los Angeles Screenplay Competition, wasn't in Indiana, it was L.A. A lot of people submitted first place. And my second first place screenplay. I had a 2 for 2. So I started trying to get an agent. Not one responded. I had one respond, wanted to know if I was gay. I said no, and then they didn't want to talk to me. I should have said I was. What's the deal? But I started calling actors, and I had no agent. I'd call their manager. I found out was easier than the agent. He would talk. And they really don't want to give an actor a screenplay with no legit offer, because why would they do that? What are you sending me a screenplay when I'm not going to make money? But I got Eric Roberts to read it, said he wanted to be in it. Got John Voight to read it, said he wants to be in it. Got Robert Davi read it, said he wants to be in it. Robert Miano read it, said he wants. It's called The Gangster Zone. Robert Miano read it, said he wants to be in it. William Forsythe called me, said he wants to be in it. So these actors are showing up, want to be in it. Well, luckily, a friend of mine shows back in town, and he has an agent that he just signed with. I said, referred me to Eric Lincoln Miller, 3i Books, literary agent. He's a book guy, but he liked the screenplay, and he's representing me. So now I have an agent, and now I'm going to get back on the phone where they wouldn't want to talk to me because I didn't have an agent. Oh, maybe they'll talk to me now that I do, because he'll submit rather than just me, which I'll really send it, but they'll know I have an agent.
I'm curious because that's an interesting situation you're in. That's a lot of star power that you've got at your fingertips. And I'm wondering how you approach these people and why. I mean, are they willing? You're going to find your money when they put their John Hancock on the dotted line saying that they're attached.
Well, I couldn't give them a legit offer without really having the money. SAG doesn't allow that, to put a real offer on the table without the money in the bank to back it. I mean, I talked to CAA about Katy Perry playing the female lead, her first female lead ever, and they wouldn't
It's
talk without a legitimate offer.
it's actually you can bypass that. You
That's
what you
why
use first of all, use an entertainment attorney, and your agent works on a percentage. An attorney doesn't. So they're going to want all the money they can get, which means they're going to probably overprice your script. An entertainment attorney can draft with those big name actors a letter of intent, which means that you create an offer. It's like what comes first, the chicken or the egg. So if these actors want to be in your movie, you say, this is what I'll pay you. Look at what they've earned in their past couple of movies, and do a little due diligence. This is what I'll pay you if right, if then you go to the finance people and you say, hey, I've got John Voight starring in my next movie, but I need $5 million. So it's this game. You're a middleman as a writer, which I don't think many of us went into this business to be. I don't think that's the fun part of our jobs, but that is the landscape right now.
Let me insert something. I worked, before I made Still the Drums, the movie that won the awards, I worked for several film companies raising money. I learned what they did. I wrote my own prospectus, created a registered partnership, and raised $500,000 on that telephone right there. I did it all. I raised the money, I wrote the prospectus, I did everything, and I did that for the Gangster Zone. I was going to try to raise 15 million, and COVID hit, and I had just brought in 100 grand the first week, and COVID hit and wiped me out, and I had to end the companies because it's $800 a year in California for each company, and I couldn't afford it. I'm on food stamps. I'm living on food stamps.
You have the makings of a great story because it's always the people who's Hilary Swank. She had no health insurance when she won the Oscar, right? I love these stories. So it happens. It sounds like you've been in the trenches, but it also sounds like you're very, very tenacious.
I got 3 Best Actor awards.
It sounds like you're very tenacious, and I think that's a characteristic that you need in this business. But I think you deserve congratulations for getting those people to read your script.
I'm not here for that, though. My agent told me to come here. He's not here. He said he was coming with about 8 people. He's not even here. And I told him, it's probably a paid service. I belong to one of those where they'll help you and you pay so much. They got different packages, but you never know when they're going to drop a pearl. And I'm going to go. And that's why I'm here. And you have dropped a few. And I'm so happy I came because it's worth it. And I listened to Randy's thing on YouTube that she had with someone else about books. I want to learn it. I want to do it. I want to at least make my second movie before I pass away. I'm 78. It's I don't know what to say, but thank you for everything you're saying.
Well, thank you. And what a nice compliment. And I would say with the amount of energy you have, you're not going anywhere soon. So, yeah.
I should have more coffee, right?
I know.
You mentioned an entertainment attorney, Nick.
Hmm?
How do you get that? You just have to pay him, right?
Yeah.
You just have to pay them hourly. Don't skimp. You don't need the Johnny Cochran of entertainment, but don't
you want to retain him?
and you pay them hourly, and they're over it. They're not going to come after you, later for a cut of the action or anything like that. But finance people in studios will look at them with the same kind of
as an agent.
They'll be impressed with a good attorney as they are with an agent. And an attorney is not going to turn you away because you're paying them by the hour. Agents tend to be and this is traditional Hollywood agents. I don't want to talk about book agents. That's not my area of expertise. But with film stuff, we work in a very ego-driven industry. And a lawyer, you bypass that nonsense as well. They'll just bill you by the hour and I'm done. So, and by the way, I'm not saying don't have an agent. You need an agent, and then you need a manager. When you need your manager to keep your agent in check, and your agent to keep your manager in check. But yeah, start with a lawyer.
Oh, he is here.
Okay. Thank you.
Did that help? And by the way, you can reach out. I'm going to put I should put in the chat my email address. Anybody who has a follow-up question, kind of have an open door policy. You can feel free to email me.
That's my agent. Hi, Eric.
Hi.
Oh, hey, Eric. Okay, I see the connection.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I brought him here.
so,
I told him he had to come, and I'm really glad he did because, like you said, I knew that there'd be something valuable with it,
I hope so. I mean, I hope so. That's why I'm here. I love this stuff, by the way. I love all of it. I love the whole game. I love the difference between the business in California and the business in New York City and the business in London. They've all got their own nuances and their own fun and their own hassles. And this is a dance that I really enjoy doing. So yes, nice to meet you, Eric. I definitely, as I was saying, you need an agent, and when you get big enough, you need a manager. And agents and managers don't always love each other, but they keep each other in check. Eric, correct me if I'm wrong. Do you usually like the managers that you work with?
I haven't really dealt with it, but I've got Talbot and I've got this other guy named Tim Scanlon, and they're both writers and actors. So I sort of put myself as a manager. The way I kind of started my company, I said I'm a literary agent. So now I'm a manager, but it's really extremely part-time. It's just something that.
Can I ask a question about the attorneys since we're talking about them?
You bet. That's what I was going to say. I have wonderful lawyers in New York, New Jersey, and Los Angeles to recommend to anybody if you want. So I will type my email address here if that's all right. Go ahead.
I'm going to put your email address in the chat, right? You said that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I spoke with an attorney, big time. He was with a gigantic firm, and then he went to another firm. His name was Stephen Beer. He's in New York, and he's listed a lot of times as executive producer, but I think they get that as part of their pay. But
Yeah.
he wanted a retainer, 10 grand. And I talked to him several times for free. He got to like me. He saw what I had accomplished. And I can contact him. And I tell people that if I need an attorney, he's kind of in the wings for me. And I told him I'm telling people like that. So he was kind of okay with it, but I couldn't afford to bring him on, of course. And then when you say they charge you by the hour, they're out there adding hours on. All of a sudden, you got a bill from the attorney. Well, we did another 20 hours, so it's scary with an attorney.
Oh, it is. And I just got a $2,800 bill yesterday that I was like, I don't even remember this conversation. But anyway, but and yes, they're always going to ask for a retainer, but work with people. Say, look, that's big for me. I'm an indie producer. How about 2,500? And check with me before, well before the retainer runs out. So keep people in line. This is your project, your money, right? So don't let people run away with your budget. No. If the lawyer needs a retainer, you give them a quarter of what they're asking for. And if they're not worth their salt when that retainer expires, move on.
And there's all kinds of people along the way that are trying to get a few dollars out of you trying to get to where you're going, and you really got to be smart, to hear what's happening. But it's almost I'm trying to think of it. It almost it convinces you to do something else. But stories just keep coming to me. I mean, I got more stories that I could ever write, and I keep thinking of new ones. And like I said, all I'd like to do is make this one more movie before I pass. It's going to be good.
It sounds like I call those downloads. I think people that are just born writers and born storytellers, it can happen to me in traffic. It can also happen to me at 100 miles an hour, and then I get a ticket because I'm not paying attention. But it's like the whole screenplay just comes
Man,
in, right? And I get it. And I call that a download because I really don't take credit for it. It's almost like it's divinely planted into my brain. And then all I have to do is type it up.
I just gave Eric a 149-page novel that I wrote in 2.5 nights.
Yeah.
It just, the only reason took me that long, I kept falling asleep. But I'd wake up and I finished it. I don't know if it's terrible. We'll find out.
About 6 years ago, 5 years ago, Randy, whenever I did that, it was before I spent a year in Thailand a couple of years ago, 4 years ago. And before that, I had a story download and I sat down to write it, and I'm never blocked. One thing that I learned at USC is don't be afraid of the first page. Write anything. You can delete it. Just get started on the story, right? I mean, you just get through the first page, no matter what it is. If you're talking about the sky or the clouds or the green grass or, just get started, jump in. So I sat down to write this script, I thought, and my big thing is coffee and chocolate and macadamia nuts when I'm on a writing binge. So I gain about 10 pounds with every script. But but I was sitting there and about 3 days went by and I could not break into this story. And I had the whole story, but I couldn't break in. And I finally realized this story wants to be a book. And it's very unusual. But the story dictated to me what, I just wasn't listening for the first 3 days. Way back, a million years ago, I thought that I would be a novelist, but the University of Southern California shoots you out into Hollywood and you start only thinking in movie terms, right? But actually, some stories are better told as a book, and so that happened.
I'm beginning to realize that.
Yes, and I said it was the first book I'd written since college, probably, and it poured out of me 618 pages in 18 days.
Wow.
Sleep deprivation. Now, of course, a lot had to be cut, but that's that, because once I recognized what it wanted to be, it just came out.
I got this book about the French Revolution, the terror. This guy is just an amazing writer. I mean, he's an old guy, and like I put all this stuff together. I had everything ready to go, and I said, "Well, just send me the manuscript." And it was 180,000 words, right? And I was like,
Oh my God.
which is just like so. And I told that to the publisher. I said, I was going to send you the thing. The thing is 180,000 words, and I write the guy. He's this little English guy. And he's like, "Oh, that's mostly the length of whatever, this is just like, no. So there's word count and it's a problem, what I'm saying? It's like I love the book. The book is amazing, but now I'm gonna have to read the thing. It's like
That's the
that's another thing that's happening too. For me is that I'm hearing is that I'm getting these really long stories and I'm trying to tell people, remember, we have shortened attention spans.
I know.
And people don't have the time.
I know.
I just wrote 10 short novellas. Eric has one of them I sent him, I think.
Right.
But I wrote 10 in the last month because I recognize people they don't want to take time to do anything.
No, I know.
It's something they can read if they're on the train or waiting for the doctor.
Yeah.
And a whole story. Bing, bang, boom, you're done.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And it's fun. It's a lot of fun, really.
Yeah.
So I think my cousin has the same background at USC that I do. And she really focused. Well, she did. I think her major was screenwriting, but she paid a lot of attention and was very good with the poetry, which was not at all me. She's morphed that into a songwriting career, and I read her. She and I are best friends, and it's funny because her grandmother and my grandmother were sisters, and they talked on the phone every morning. And now that we're getting older, we talk on the phone every morning. And I'm like, oh my God, we're our grandmothers, we're nanas. but she she sends me all of her. She gets downloads too, like the whole thing comes to her once, and she sends me her lyrics when she writes a new song, and it's like she's so talented, and she tells a whole story in 18 lines, and I'm like, how do you do that? I mean, wow.
Songs are amazing.
Yeah, and I have no musical ability, so I could barely turn on the radio, so that would never work for me. But
Writing songs all the time.
are you?
I wrote the music and still the drums.
Yeah.
I composed a song, one best song.
Wow.
I sang it too.
Oh my. Randy is also a talented musician.
I know. I've been watching her stuff, so
It's amazing.
yeah, she's no rookie.
So, so we're talking a lot about the.
Nick Potter, who's an animation guy for comic books, and I told Eric that's who I thought you were. I thought we were going to be talking about comics. I said, "All right, we'll listen anyway."
Yeah. I dragged him in.
No, that's not me. There are a lot of Nick Potters, but you know how you can tell the differences that
You got
my name is spelled funny. It's Nickolas. Yeah.
Nickolas.
And if anybody, it is Russian, and I'm not Russian. And I asked my mother, what were you thinking? And she said, I don't know. I just wanted to do something different. So anyway, any questions about any other stuff about writing specifically for production versus telling a story in a book?
Oh, Nick, I have a question for you. Can you just talk about, it's like you mentioned, like props. What are the different components that need to be in a script besides the story itself?
Okay, yeah, great question. So there are props, there are sound effects, there are costumes, special makeup. When you invent a character, and this has been happening to me a lot lately, I see the same character when they're young and then again when they're older. So it's a tricky thing because directors, the biggest egos of all, in my opinion. I'm not a director. I wish I could be, but I don't like the technical. I don't want to worry about the lighting and the wiring stuff. They take it very personally, in my experience, when you kind of step on their toes. In other words, don't over direct in your script. So if I want to write, I've already met a character, Jennifer, when she was 16 years old. Now I'm seeing her when she's 60. And I want to talk about how well she's aged or how poorly she's aged. I can do that, but I keep it vague. Otherwise, the director thinks that you are trying to do their job. So again, this is one of the things that I know about is how to stay true to your vision without irritating the people that you want to work with. And this is important because, again, unlike a book, this is a collaborative art. This is a whole team of people, and they all feel very strongly about what they're bringing to the table. That's everything from makeup to costumes to set design. So there is just a fine line that you have to walk between knowing what things should look like in your own mind, but giving some leeway to the other people who you want to onboard to your project. I hope that helped a little, Randy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the word specifics applies. In acting, you have to be as specific as you possibly can in a real way, and that brings the performance. In writing, it's a lot more detail that you got to put on a page, and that comes from being really specific and telling your story, and the more specific you are, that's where the detail comes from, I believe, and that'll make a much better story.
I love to work with actors, and I think everyone here, I don't even know how many people we have in this meeting, but we're all storytellers. But I love to sit down with actors, and the only way that I've ever gotten to do that is when I'm also producing, because we are underrated in the Hollywood community, writers. But I find that letting them. I can't say who. I wish I could tell you guys as proprietary, but I just sat down with the son of a very famous guy who has decided after surfing in Costa Rica for a couple of years that he's going to join the family business and become an actor. And he couldn't be more handsome, and he couldn't be more talented, and he couldn't be a nicer kid. Um, and I watched him. He got the lead role in the movie, the leading man, and again for the younger version of the leading man. And we had a chemistry read because we hadn't cast the leading lady yet. So we had a bunch of actresses come in and read with this guy. And the director, the real director wasn't there that day. And the person that was sitting in for him just wasn't nailing the vision. You do not ever want to embarrass your director or challenge him in front of his cast or his crew. That's not a fair thing to do at all. But what you can do as the producer, you're the only guy on the set who can just gently tap somebody on the shoulder and say, when you have a minute, can we have a cup of coffee? And then you go have your conversation, quietly. And that way you have an opportunity to tell them and they understand the relationship with the director. You have an opportunity to tell them about the picture in your head, but you don't embarrass anybody. I don't know how I got off on that tangent. I apologize.
It's a good point, though. That's all I can say. Because on the set, I was directing and playing the lead role. Not an easy thing to do. And there were some scenes that were very heavy emotionally. And the sound guy of all people says, why are we not having any fun anymore? Because we had a lot of fun earlier. And I told him, well, we're doing a very serious scene. I can't, break out of it and be funny and then go back and be serious. And he almost wanted to leave. I couldn't believe it. And I had to take him outside. Of course, he yelled at me and he felt bad. I took him outside. I don't care. You're not leaving. You can yell at me all you want. You're staying, and we're doing. And he stayed. We worked it out. But what a scary thing when you're on the set.
It is terrifying, and people know that. I had on my first movie, and the unions are different in every state, right? So I didn't know this, but we were shooting in Massachusetts, and no pizza allowed for the hot meal. So one night I ordered the catering for the next day, and there was a beautiful restaurant there that did gourmet pizzas. And I mean, these were beautiful pizzas. These were not cheap. This was a nice meal, but it didn't occur to me. It's pizza, and I got away with it for the day, but we were running behind, so we needed to stay late that night. And there was a guy who was an electrician or grip, and he really wanted to be an actor, which you're going to run into a lot with your crew. They're paying bills, putting food on the table until they get their big chance, and that's okay. Good for them because they're learning the business. But we didn't have a place for him. We simply did not have a place for him, not even a walk-on. So he didn't like us, and he took it personally. Anyway, so he used that pizza as an excuse to kind of create a revolt, and he made everybody leave that night at 5:00.
Oh.
We needed them to stay until about 8 or 8:30, and it cost us a fortune. And that man is very lucky he was still working for me the next day. Sorry, I usually put my phone on airplane mode. There we go.
My partner told people that we were going to give them pay the day we started shooting. And I told them when we got there that they'll have their checks on Monday. And they said, no, there was like almost a revolution. And I actually drove home. We took an hour break, drove home, brought back the checkbook because they thought maybe I didn't have money. Brought back the checkbook, and the production supervisor or whatever the name was, she wrote out the checks. She wanted that responsibility. And everybody got their checks, and then we went and paid, and they verified the money was in the bank. And
isn't it fun? We had a guy. I'm digressing, and I want to answer more serious questions, but I have to tell you that my first movie, we had a tiger by the tail because we got some bigger talent and some more money than we expected. That was going to be this cute little indie film that we were going to shoot on Cape Cod in the off season, and all these vacation rental houses that are empty at that time of year anyway. And the next thing you know, we're shooting a real movie, and there's a scene where we needed lightning coming in the window, and all it is a guy hitting a metal on metal and creating a spark outside the window, right? And this is 30 years ago, guys. So he wanted $200. We didn't have it. I said, "You want $200 to sit there and hit a stick? Are you like right now? Like, can I pay you tomorrow?" So it was like, and I just I love this business. It's it's dog eat dog, but at the end of the day, you're creating art and it lasts forever. So,
It's nice when it's done, I'll tell you that.
isn't it?
You, when you got
That's
a
when you get the
project,
contract.
it's just a good feeling.
Yeah.
It really is a good feeling.
I'd love to see your movie. Maybe we
It's
can
on
talk.
YouTube, totally free for 15. It's about a missing soldier. I won't reveal anything. It's called
Okay.
Still the Drums,
Still the
which
Drums.
means quit beating the drums that call us to war. Okay, it's a patriotic anti-war film, and it's about a missing soldier. 4 friends went to war, Vietnam. 3 served together. 1 went over later, but 1 was MIA. And they've been meeting on his birthday for 39 years to keep his spirit alive. Best friends. They played war as kids, and his bones are found. He's buried as a hero, gets the Medal of Honor, and my movie takes place where they're now meeting after the funeral. And they're in their place where they usually go. It's a nice room. And I got a lot of kudos for creating a movie that stays almost in one place for about 75% of the time, maybe even more. And it's free on YouTube. I donated all the money. I wasn't making a lot of money. Hardly anyone seen it. And I donated all the money to veterans charities for 15 years. I didn't take a dime. And
That's
now
wonderful.
that was running out. So now I put it on YouTube. No commercials. I didn't even want to do that deal. Just free. And it's Still a Drums Dash movie or Still a Drums Dash trailer. It's up there. It's a good story. And that's what made me get recognized for the other awards. I was in a small
Do you have a
part.
link? Could you send it to me? I really would like to watch it. And I don't
Yeah.
want to.
Are you going to give us your email or you want to
Yeah,
tell me?
I
I
have
did.
it. I have it.
I
I'll
did.
send it.
Okay.
Nick, I'll send it.
I'll definitely
Okay,
send you
thank
the link.
I'll send
Absolutely.
it. I'll do it. I'll do it.
Try to tell me not to.
Yeah. I put it in the chat too, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
In fact, I just had to re-put it up. Somebody suggested cut out all the titles in the beginning.
Oh yeah, that was
And I didn't like it.
the
So I
credits
had
are
to
kind of long.
put it back up. So it looks like nobody's seen it now.
Yeah, right. I know.
Yeah.
It's a good story. You'll like it. The Gangsters that I won first place at the Los Angeles Screenplay Competition is a great script. I wanted to write a series. I wrote 4 episodes. I went to Brian Levant. He directed Beethoven movies, the Flintstones. I knew his brother. He got me a meeting with him. His script reader read it, said it was great. She said, these stories are great. So he said, combine them, make it a feature. So I did. I entered the LA Screenplay Competition and won first place.
I love it. I love it. I was going to say, just to hearten you, these projects that seem like there's no such thing as an overnight success. And you keep saying, oh, that it didn't get any attention. It didn't get any attention yet. Wait until you finish your next movie and it blows up, and then they're going to say, what else has he done? That's
Right.
We
when
started doing a sequel, using a lot of the footage from the first one, and people would see that and want to see the first one. But no one would see the second one. But you're so right on the money. I'm so glad I came to this today. I really am.
I'm glad you did too.
Thank you, Eric, for inviting me. I mean,
You're welcome.
yes. Well, thank you
so
all.
worthwhile. So worthwhile.
And my friend Harry is here somewhere too, I believe.
Yes.
So again, let me open
I'm
it up
right here.
there. Okay, good. Hi, Harry. Let me open it up to more questions. Anything, guys, really regarding AI and what not to trust it with, the business side, or how to look when you write your screenplay like you've been on a movie set before. Talbot has. Not a lot of people have. First time you write a screenplay, usually you don't have the experience of 12-hour days shooting and dealing with crew politics and all that stuff. So, there's really think of your script as a blueprint for 30 days of shooting, or however long your shoot's going to be. And a little free tip, if you go independent, or you decide to raise $50,000 and make your own film or something, kill them with kindness.
It's easy nowadays.
Well, craft services, I mean, look, everyone wants to watch their health. They don't need a table full of Ruffles potato chips. Put some nice food out there,
I did 8-hour days, 6-day weeks, no overtime, gave them 2 hot meals a day. I raised $500,000. I spent it all.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the way to do it. And that also gives you some leverage too when somebody acts up. When you say, look, if you can find a place where they're going to treat you better, go.
I've been told by my cinematographer he considered one of the best shoots he's ever been on.
That's good. So we should probably make a movie together, Talbot.
Oh, man.
It's the same way.
You got to read The Gangster Zone. That's all I got to say. Maybe you'll like it.
Yeah.
I'd love to. Who knows?
my
By the way, I've been acting as executive producer, and I'm getting this job. Well, let me put it this way. I'm falling in love with this part of the job late in life, because I've really never been inspired or interested in accounting and money and cutting corners. And that's not my favorite thing. I have an imagination. I'm a storyteller. So, but what we do is it takes balance, and we need the finance people, and we need the studios, we need the investors. So learning to speak their language over the last couple of years has been such a gift to me, because it's not just that I do my job better and that I write a script that's affordable, and that when I'm writing, I make sure I'm writing a scene that's shootable on the least possible amount of money. But they feel respected and appreciated, and as well they should, because we can't do our jobs without them. So it's just I use the word politics. There are a lot of politics in this business. It takes a long time to get used to it, but at the end of the day, everybody wants to feel good when they go home from work, and creating a happy workplace is a really big part of a successful production, which is another reason that when you write your script, show respect to everybody that's going to be working for you.
I studied with Lee Strasberg, and he said hard work creates inspiration. Of course, you get results, you get some success, and now you're re-inspired. And, that happens. I got sucked in. I had a friend that goes to the races, bets on horses. He said, my biggest thing was I should have never won the first race I bet on. I was hooked for life. Right. Well, I was in a play in college. They entered it into a contest, and I won the Best Actor Award, the Irene Ryan Award, for playing Lenny. I didn't even know we were in a contest. Then here I win this award. I go, holy smokes, I guess I should be an actor. And I'm now 78. I was in college. I was in my 21. So all these years, I'm struggling, but I keep doing it. Just keep doing it. And, what can I say?
Well, it's because you've got
so you're giving me the chills, Nick.
I would like to ask Harry and Lana, can you unmute? Harry has a book coming out through Vandella Publishing with Lana Makara. Would you just like to say a few words about that? What's the title and a little bit about your project? Do you feel okay about sharing that?
I have no issues sharing that.
Great.
Okay.
Great.
Okay. My name is Harry Martinez,
and
I'm a former police officer from New Jersey, and I'm also a former United States Marine.
There you go.
And I recently retired from the United States Army as a sergeant major, which is the pinnacle of any non-commissioned officer's career. I have fought in Panama, Kuwait, Iraq,
wow,
Afghanistan, and I've assisted in security operations around the world. I have sat with generals, politicians. I've also actively yoked governments, invaded countries, and hunted down terrorists.
Shit.
So my book is not based on that entire career. It's based on 1 year that changed me to my core level to make me realize that the world is an evil place and it requires hard men to make things move and happen. At the same time, I also wanted people to understand that individuals involved in these type of scenarios are just common everyday people. They get an idea, they act on it, and then they get trained. And the length that the United States government goes to train individuals, the cost is in the millions. So the book covers the first time during the first phase of the war in Iraq. We thought we had won the people over. They were going to cheer us. They're going to kiss us. They promise us street names named after certain soldiers, the whole 9 yards. And very quickly, the environment changed on us because we had an ignorance of that culture. And I think we have not really understood how to perform what we call small wars, low intensity conflicts. And we also quickly realized that we couldn't sustain a war without the assistance of the Army National Guard, the Air Force National Guard. So I watched the towers when they were hit. I remember that it took me 10 years to watch footage from that incident. My brother was there. At one point, I thought my oldest son's mother was on one of the flights because she was on United Airlines. She worked for United Airlines, and she flew across the country. And that's the planes that they were hijacking because they carried the most fuel. Anyway, it took me 20 years to finish the book. The reason it took me 20 years was because I had to keep stopping because I had to focus on my career. But the first 20,000 words, I wrote it in 10 days. The last 25,000 words, I wrote it in probably about 10 days. So I understand the art behind inspiration, which has already been mentioned here. Like you start writing, just write. To illustrate that, I recently received a panel from a student, I guess he's pursuing psychology. And he said, I want to involve you because I want you to write about this particular battle and answer all these questions. And if the weather has any impact on PTSD. I still have not yet answered the first question, and I'm 11,000 words into it, and I haven't even touched the battle yet. Because I think people lose the sight of the fact that it's not like, I think a lot of movies and even books promise it. I'm going to put you right there in the scene. I'm going to put you right there in the moment. I'm going to make you feel that. I've only seen 2 movies actually do that. And really one, Saving Private Ryan, and the opened in 20 minutes. I was a young man when I saw that movie. I'm 60 years old now. But I remember walking out of that film and I had invaded Kuwait. We stormed a desert trench line. It was very violent. It was the first 18 hours. And I remember looking across my brother from the rooftop. He's a former Marine. And he says, "You okay?" And I said, "No, I'm not okay. I need to go home, and that's what I want you to do. I want you to take me home." So behind my house is 12 acres of woods. And I walked off into the darkness and I fell on my knees and I cried. Because that movie captured every moment really well. The confusion, the moment when you have sensory overload happening and there's so many things happening all at one time. And it also sets a standard for me how I want to deal with chaplains in the military, because there's no chaplains that I've ever seen in the last 4 conflicts ever perform at the level that I saw from World War II and listening to World War II veterans speak about a chaplain's performance. So I thought, I want to write a book like that. You're probably figuring out where this all leading into, but I want to write a book like that. In that 1 year in Ramadi, I got blown up in a vehicle. My driver's face was on fire. My gunner was knocked out. I watched another rocket scream at me coming down an alley. And I thought, I can't go nowhere. I'm in a vehicle. The vehicle in front of me has stopped. The vehicle behind me has stopped. And I looked at my driver. I'm like, brace. It's going to kill us both, or it's going to kill one of us. And I watched it. It's coming. And at the very last second, like God's hand waved in front of the door and the rocket made a left turn and slammed it into the back of the vehicle that was in front of us. And so with that, we pushed the vehicle out of the way. Another incident, I had a rocket come through the window. There was 5 of us inside the room. In another incident, I got knocked down by, I believe, a Dishka round, which is about the size of a Dishka round is about the size of this. It's the bullet in the cartridge. When it runs by your body, it will sear any part of your body. It doesn't even have to touch you. It knocked me on my back. And I'm not, the book is there. I've killed people from 3 feet to a half mile away. I've seen fear like you cannot believe. And I've seen evil like you cannot believe. And so I wanted to put the reader in all that. I want them to know that we're not all Navy SEALs. We're not Green Berets. You see in all these movies come out and they're not talking about the common man, about your neighbor, about the baker, the construction worker, because this is the National Guard. I fought in Kuwait. I'm sorry. I fought in Iraq and Afghanistan. I did 5 combat tours. That's 60 months as a National Guardsman. I kept getting promoted because I was doing quite well. I was really good in the business of warfare. But it all hinged on my experience of that 1 year in Ramadi.
So Harry, we need to wrap it up. We're a little over an hour. Just tell us Lana raves about your book, and I know, it's going to be coming out shortly. What's the title?
I'm sorry. The title is One is a Warrior.
One is a Warrior?
One is a Warrior.
One is a warrior. Wow. Thank you. God bless you for your service. Harry, don't watch my movie. I don't want you to be sad about it.
Depressed.
Yeah, right. No, really. Don't watch.
Tell me, I'm not a sad person.
No, I know you're not, but I don't want to insult you
I've been
anyway
doing this
with anything I did in the movie.
I've been doing this business of warfare for a long time.
I was in the Navy, and I respect you for your service. I was a coward. You're a hero. And personally, I'm so glad I didn't have to go to battle. Of course, I would have been talking and got killed for sure. But God bless you, Harry, what you've been through, and that you've survived this, and that you're going to share it with the world. Because they need to hear or read what you're talking about.
Well, I appreciate the kind words. Thank you very much.
Mine surrounds PTSD without it ever being mentioned. And that's why you don't need to watch it.
Well, I just want to add one thing. Nickolas, we'll talk later, hopefully. But I'll say this, and it's been a wonderful experience, this right now, today, to hear you speak, Nick, and in general terms. I just wrote Lana. I was like, I'm going with Nickolas.
Great.
But I couldn't, even if the film never gets made, because I grew up watching movies. I grew up reading a lot of books, and you cannot go into warfare if you don't read. That's plain and simple. You cannot go into warfare if you can't imagine the environment that you're going into. So all that being said, these things don't happen unless people work together with the same goal in mind, with the same agenda. Make it happen. Nick, you've convinced me today that that's going to be you. Lana has been very, very supportive. I just feel like, but for the grace of God, there go I, because this could have been anybody. You know, you just don't get exposed to so much talent and love and support all in one room, and I appreciate it.
Cool.
Human level.
Thank you, Harry. That was a very deep, incredible share. Nick,
Wow.
would you like to just take final words? Because we do need to go, but
Yes,
just some final words.
I've enjoyed this talk so much, and Harry, yeah, I'm looking forward to speaking with you. I've had the privilege of reading Harry's book as well, and I have never been in the military, and I'm ashamed of that. So having the privilege to tell a story, to work with Harry and tell his story and understand his experience better is I'm tearing up.
Yeah.
So I'm honored and moved and excited. But this talk was really what I wanted to do is I wanted to issue a caution for people who are being tempted by AI to go the cheap route and use AI and end up with a screenplay that's going to embarrass you. And the other thing is that I wanted to impart, the idea that a book is a story, a screenplay is 50% story, 50% organizing production. And it's also an opportunity for you to honor all the people who you want to come on board. So writing a screenplay based on a novel is very, very important. It's going to be, um, it's going to be challenging because there are two different mediums and things are going to have to get shifted around. And as a writer myself, I know that our projects are our babies and we get used to things being in a certain order, in a certain way. Sometimes when a book changes from a book to a screenplay, you have to tell the story out of order or use flashbacks. And it all looks like smoke and mirrors. But when it's all said and done, if you do it well, you and your audience should be pretty happy and proud of yourself. And I love teaching people how to do that successfully. If you have a story that you're in love with, make sure you write the screen version of it very carefully and that you take the time to educate yourself on how to do that.
Thank you. Your sound was starting to go out. So perfect timing. So thank you. Thank you, Nick. Nickolas Potter. Thank you for everybody for coming. And I will have the recording and I'll be posting that and so anybody can see it. So thank you, Bob.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Really a pleasure meeting you, Talbot and Eric. And
thank you. Same here. I'm going to send you some stuff.
All right. I look forward to it. And here we'll speak. I'm around. I'm here. So if you have time now, great. But whenever you're ready, and I'm so grateful. Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Bye,
everybody.
Take care.
Bye.
Take care.